Before we get started, I wanted to tell you about our 2026 reading challenge. It's a simple, nostalgic way to be intentional with your reading and to dream about the year ahead. One book per month with options for you as an individual or for your family. If you love lists and cozy reading plans, this one's for you. You can download the challenge now. Head on over to www.bookishflights.com/read/2026 reading challenge, or just click the link in the show notes. Happy reading! Hi, I'm Kara Infante, and this is Bookish Flights, a podcast where we tell our stories through our favorite books. Each episode features a bookish guest where we will talk about reading, life, and the seasons we're in, all through a thoughtfully paired book flight of recommendations for you. If you're looking for meaningful book recommendations and a space to slow down, you're in the right place. In today's episode, I am chatting with Amanda Wen. Amanda's novels have released to both reader and critical acclaim. Her second novel, The Songs That Could Have Been, won both the Selah and the Carol Awards, and her debut, Roots of Wood and Stone, was a finalist for the Christie Award. In addition to her writing, Amanda is an accomplished professional cellist and pianist who frequently performs with orchestras, chamber groups, and her church's worship team, as well as serving as a choral accompanist. A lifelong denizen of the flatlands, Amanda currently lives in Kansas with her patient, loving, and hilarious husband, their 3 adorable Wenlets, and a snuggly Siamese cat. Today we're here to discuss her latest novel, Echoes of a Silent Song. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my first question usually is tell us a little bit more about yourself, but there is so much packed in here. So tell us about your life as a professional musician.
Well, that is what my college and grad school training was in. I wrote for fun as a kid,
Okay.
but then I discovered music and I knew that was what I wanted to do. I think I started playing cello in like 4th grade.
Okay.
And so then music was kind of the main focus of like high school. I went to college and grad school for cello, and that's what my degrees are in.
Okay.
And then as soon as I got done with school, the writing bug was like, hey, remember me? So I have managed to carve out like both a career as a musician and a career as a writer, which I like looking at it on paper, it's kind of insane that I'm doing this, but God wanted both for me and he is enabling me to do both. And I think that is super cool that I get to do both of the things that I love. And people have asked me, like, I had a choir director a few years ago ask me, hey, so when are you going to quit music and write full time? And my answer was hopefully never, because I would so miss making music if I didn't. And then if I was making music all the time and not writing, I would miss the writing part. So I kind of just do both, and it's kind of nuts, but I love it.
Yeah. I can imagine that. So I'm also a piano player, played for,
Oh, cool.
many years. And I feel like when I go sit down on the piano, it really helps me like untangle my brain a little bit, if that makes sense,
Yes.
and so I imagine that would just feed into your writing, right? Like it helps me make sense. I can go play the piano 30 minutes and I have so much more mental clarity when I step away
Yes.
than I did
I
going
mean,
in.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. My day job, like the way my schedule is currently structured, is I'm home in the mornings and that's when I do writing stuff. And then I go to my day job as a choir accompanist in the afternoon. So usually about the time my brain is like, hey, I need a break, it's
Yeah.
time for me to go make music and interact with real people and just kind of exist in the known world. And then in the evenings, it's kind of a free for all. Sometimes I have gigs. Sometimes I need to do stuff for my kids. Sometimes I can write more. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to read a book and go to bed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like the writing and the music kind of feed each other for me. Like music helps me be a better writer, and writing helps me be a better musician. And so they must use different parts of the brain or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's really cool.
But that and it just helps elevate them both, right? Like they use a separate
Yeah.
thing. We'll have to do some research on that. That could be our next little deep
I
dive.
mean, I remember one time I was playing cello in the pit orchestra for an opera. This was years ago. And I'm playing an opera, and my writer brain is like, hey, this part of your story that you were stuck on, here's what's going to happen next. And I remember like at intermission, I just got out my phone and opened my notes app, and I just typed everything that I had come
I
up with
love
in the
that.
first half of the opera. And then I went back and played the second half of the opera.
Oh, I love that. So, and then you're also a mom of three. Like, so not only do you have these like two big roles, you're also a
Uh-huh.
mom of three, which that is all encompassing in itself.
It is. And it's very, very fun. My kids are the funniest people on the planet. They are 16, 15, and 12.
I love
So two boys, the older ones are boys, and then the younger one is a girl.
that.
And
Okay.
they, I mean, my Facebook feed, I would never post anything except for my kids. Like they say the funniest things. And my friends are like, I always want to know what you're going to say when I'm on Facebook, because we call the kids the Wenlets. We have
Yeah.
called them the Wenlets since they were little bitty. And
How
now
sweet.
my boys are both taller than I am, and my daughter is catching me very quickly. So I may be the shortest person in the house pretty soon, but they're still going to be the Wenlets.
Yes, absolutely. We are living in the stage. I have a 5-year-old, and
Oh,
he has like these existential questions. Like today or
uh-huh.
yesterday, he hits me and they're like burning questions when they come to you. He's like,
Yes.
"Mommy, mommy, mommy, can elephants wear flip-flops?" And I was like, "I mean, what do you think, buddy? Like, have you seen a flip-flop that big?" Like,
Oh, that's a good question, though.
yeah, but he just comes up, and then he came down about 2 weeks ago and he likes to sit at the top stair when he first gets up, and I think he like collects
Oh.
himself for a few minutes, and he comes down and he's like, "Mommy, how hard does a shrimp punch?" And I was like, "A what?"
Those are some really fun
Yeah.
questions.
But they just
I,
crack me up because I'm like, where in the world did this come from? And like, do shrimps punch? Like, I didn't even know they punched. So,
I can picture that. And it
yeah.
would be, I mean, because they have so many legs. I feel like if they could punch with all of them, they might be a force to be reckoned with, at
Yeah.
least for things smaller than them. But
Yeah.
I
I
remember
just,
one time,
cracking
yeah,
up.
go ahead. I was working on this was during a summer break one time. So, of course, my kids were home. And I was on a pretty tight deadline for a Christmas novella that I wrote in a collection called Oh Little Town that came out with Kriegel.
Yeah.
And I'm in my head, I'm in the snowy forests of Michigan, and it's these characters are picking out a Christmas tree, and it's a pivotal scene, and they're having their first big quasi-romantic moment. And it's like my brain is just trying to catch up with them. Like, are they kissing? Are they not kissing? Are they gonna almost kiss? What's happening? And then the door to my office bursts open, and one of my kids comes in and goes, Mom, is cereal a soup?
I know.
And I'm like,
What I love about it is the way you could see their brains are working. And it
yes.
just gives you this little piece of them. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that brain. I told one of my kids, my middle one especially, came up with some of the most interesting questions ever. And I was just like, dude, your brain is an interesting playground.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's so fun as a parent to see that. And
Yes, it is.
yeah, absolutely. Well, you have your latest book, Echoes of a Silent Song, that has come out. Can you tell the listeners about it?
Yes. Give me a second to think about it because I
Yeah.
could never come up with an elevator pitch for this.
Yeah, listeners, remember we record like in advance. So this book, technically, in terms of episode recording, is not out yet. So,
it is not out yet, but by
yeah.
the time the episode airs, it will be. So,
Yeah.
Echoes of a Silent Song, it is another split time. All of my books have been split time. This is the first book in a new series.
Okay.
There's a few more little mystery elements in it. I wouldn't call it romantic suspense necessarily because it does not follow the rules of that genre, but
Okay.
The characters in the contemporary story are a choral director and an accompanist who do not like each other. They're forced to work together, but they butt heads from the very beginning. But then they are digging around in the choir library trying to find music for their high school choirs to sing. And they find a handwritten piece of music that's unsigned, but it's amazing. It's a work of genius. And they're both like, who wrote this? And does this have anything to do with this girl who went to this high school in the 60s and 70s and was found dead in the spring of her senior year?
Ooh,
Like, they're
okay.
like, does this have it? And spoiler alert, it does have something to do with this girl.
Sure.
So, yeah, the past timeline is this girl, her name is Iris, and she is a brilliant composer, and it investigates the end of her life. Her death was initially ruled a suicide, but then they're thinking maybe it wasn't. So they are trying to figure out what really happened to her, what was going on at the very end of her life. And so that's the past timeline. And the present timeline, this choral director and the accompanist are learning how to work together. And eventually they decide they actually like working together and maybe more. So
How
yeah,
fun.
that's the book in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I could see where there's that page turning element of like wanting to know what happened to Iris,
Mhm.
right? You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to see what happened in her story. How in your busyness? I mean, writing a book is no small feat. How, so you kind of mentioned you're pretty structured where you do this in the morning, like that's kind of your let's I don't know, is that like your before day job?
Yes, it is. Choirs, I work at a small town high school, so we have two high school choirs and one middle school choir. So
Okay,
that's only basically 3 hours a day. So, you know, I am about 15 to 20 hours a week at the school,
sure.
but the rest of the time I'm either doing other gigs or I'm writing. But I started when my kids were super, super little. And the only time that I could really count on having to work on a book was during their naps.
Yeah.
So we were pretty disciplined about, and even when my kids outgrew naps, it was just like, this is quiet time, like
Yeah.
an hour or so after lunch. Just y'all need to go elsewhere
Hmm.
and let mommy be an adult for an hour and a half, and then we can come back together and all this stuff. But my daughter was young enough that she did still need a nap.
Yeah.
So I told the boys, you have to let Sayla sleep.
Yeah.
But and they did. They got into some creative pickles while they were napping. I remember one day, this is again my middle one. This is Jonathan. He was my most adventurous young child. He's about 3 years old.
Yeah.
And he was in the basement and he figured out how to get the basement window open. And there's one window that does not have a screen.
Oh,
And he found that one and he climbed out of the basement window and then he came around to the front and rang the doorbell.
yeah.
So I'm sitting at the kitchen table working on a book. The doorbell rings. I think it's Amazon or whatever. I open it up. It's Jonathan. And I'm like, why
Oh,
are you outside? He was so proud of himself. He was just so giggly.
yeah.
But yeah, during that little kid era, the only time that I could really write was early afternoon naps. So I kind of just got in a habit of I write for an hour or two every day. And I was consistent enough with that I was like, oh my goodness, I wrote a book.
Yeah.
Like I wrote a book during nap time. So honestly, it was easier for me to be consistent when that was the only time that I had.
Yeah.
Like now that my kids are all in school and they're teenagers and they have their own things, it's like, oh, I can write later. It's fine. I am really struggling with procrastinating on the book I'm working on now. But, I do in an ideal world, I would write for, an hour or so in the morning and that would, check that box for the day.
Yeah. I think that leads towards, when you know that's your only spot of time that you have. And I think as moms, we're so good at creating space for ourselves. Like something, if we are passionate about something, we are going to find a way to make
Yes.
that happen. And you have to be intentional. And I think, like you're saying, like now my kids maybe are a little bit more, there's more freedom to our day.
Yes.
So I don't have to be as intentional, but then, and I see it in myself too. Like as my kids are getting older and don't maybe need me to entertain them as much, like they can go
Right.
off and entertain themselves to some
Mm-hmm.
extent that I don't have to be as intentional. And then you get to the end of the day and you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't touch what I was wanting to do because now I'm
Yeah.
exhausted, you know?
Yep.
So
That's what I'm running into as I've gotten older is like the mental energy is just gone at the end of the day. Like physically, I'm okay, but just mentally, because I'm surrounded by teenagers most of the time. And like our choirs, they're wonderful kids and I adore them, but
yeah,
there's a lot of them. And they kind of drain you sometimes.
yeah,
And then you come home and you deal with your own teenagers, and it's like, ah, okay, my brain needs some vacation time.
yeah.
But
I know.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
much prefer recording at this. I'm in California, so it's 5:15 my time. That
Oh my
I would much
goodness.
prefer recording now than I have a 7:45 slot too because my brain is just mush by the end of the day. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm so
Mhm.
much better now than I am
Yeah,
later.
wow. I've done podcast interviews at all times of the day and night, and it's always interesting how like you all as hosts, you guys are so creative with how you come up with times to record. Like you do it early in the morning, and I have another one like she works, I don't know, night shifts or something.
Okay.
So like you can record at this weird time or at this weird time, and that's it. And I'm just like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
I'll do whatever, because like you said, I mean, if we're passionate about it, we will find the time to do it. And sometimes it does not align with like a quote unquote normal schedule. But
But that's part for me too. It allows me the freedom to like then I'm done with this and then I go get my kids up and we get ready for like it allows me the
yeah,
freedom to be mom too. So at the
yes,
end of the day, like when 4:30 rolls, sometimes I'm like, "Oh man," but it's all good. Like it works out
yeah,
and it allows
uh-huh.
me to have that time with the kids in the morning too. So
Yeah, that's
I
good.
appreciate it for that. Well, when someone picks up Echoes of a Silent Song, what is your wish for them? What do you hope they'll take away from the novel?
I hope that they will learn, this is a recurring theme in my books, that God can be trusted even when like on the surface it does not look like things are turning out the way that they quote unquote should, or the way that we would want them to.
Hmm.
That he has a plan, even, evil does not derail his plan. He weaves it into the tapestry of his plan for us. And, I don't pretend to understand things like, how much is God's sovereignty and how much is our free will playing? Like, I feel like that is, way beyond the human capacity to truly understand. But they work together in some mysterious way that only he knows. And there's still beauty in it, even when things don't look beautiful in the here and now.
Yeah. I think that is so hard, right?
Mhm.
Surrendering
It is.
completely
Yeah.
into
I
his will.
mean, trusting him is a constant struggle for me, and it is a theme in like pretty much every book. And I don't really set out to write
Yeah.
that into the books. Just when they're done and I look back at them, and then some podcast host ask me, what do you hope people take away from the books? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's another Trust God book. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to teach me something. I don't know. But yeah, it's one of those. But it's kind of fun that I can write that same theme in stories that are very, very different.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us out here need the same message. So,
Yeah.
well, what have you learned about yourself through writing? We'll be back after a quick message from our sponsors.
Real quick, are you feeling stuck and unable to make meaningful progress writing your novel? If so, I invite you to listen to my podcast, Speculative Fiction Writing Made Simple. This is the show that's all about how to brainstorm, write, edit, publish, and sell your novel. As a certified book coach, I share my expertise and guide you to crafting a novel you'll be incredibly proud of. What are you waiting for? Let's get started.
I have learned learned just a lot about how my brain works and how the creative process works. And I feel like I understand and all kinds of creativity better from having written. Like, I am not a composer of music.
Yeah.
That is one musical gift that I just do not have. I admire people who do, but even though I don't have that gift, I now understand how that would work. Like, I understand how like you get an idea and then you put it down and then you're like, oh wait, now that, what if we did this? And what if it goes here? And sometimes the final product looks nothing like that original germ of an idea. But you come up with this thing that you created, and it's really cool. So and I think I've learned, what else have I learned about myself? I've learned that it is possible to do the things that I love to do. I don't have to choose. I always thought I would have to pick one or the other at some point, but I really don't. And my path doesn't look like anybody else's, and that's okay, because God has a plan for each and every one of us, and it isn't, he doesn't really create cookie cutter children. We're all different, and he has a plan for all of us. And it's really cool that his plan for me was writing and music and being a wife and mom. Like, that's all the things that I thought about when I was a little kid. Like, I think I want to do this someday. I'm doing all of them. It's really fun.
Yeah. And what a like full encompassing life. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I really love that. Well, are you working on any upcoming projects?
Yes, I am working on book 2. This is the Melodies and Memories. It is a duology right now because I spent months trying to come up with ideas for a 3-book series. Couldn't come up with ideas for book 3. So I just came up with 2, and my agent said, well, why don't we just pitch 2? So we did.
Love it.
And so the second book in the duology, which I'm calling book 5, because I do not give my books working titles, because Kriegel does such an amazing job of naming my books that I just don't even try anymore. It's just literally like when I
let them do their magic.
I mean, when I sent Echoes of a Silent Song to them, the document was literally titled Book 4.
I love
and they asked, do you have a working title? And I said, nope. And they came up with Echoes of a Silent Song. And I said, that is why I didn't have a working title, because you guys nail it every single time. So book 5 is, there is an investigative reporter character that appears briefly in Echoes. And she is the heroine of book 5. She is investigating a bridge in rural Illinois that may or may not be haunted. There's some weird things that go on at this bridge, and she's investigating that. And it all kind of centers around this baby that went missing several decades before, that nobody really knows what happened to them. And so the past timeline characters are looking into that too. So it's very much in the early stages, so all of this may change, but it's kind of centering around this allegedly haunted bridge. There is a bridge here in Kansas that that's inspired this story. I'm basing it on this bridge. It's the legend. It's Theodosa's bridge, and there's a legend that somebody went missing at the bridge, and now Theodosa is haunting it or whatever. So I'm setting it locally, but all 3 of my first 3 books were in Kansas. But then Kriegel said, we're tired of Kansas books. So the duology is set in Illinois, where I used to live and went to grad school there. And that's where I met my husband, and that's where I had my first child. So I've got a connection to Illinois. I said, I want to keep it in the Midwest, because if you look at my website, there's sunflowers everywhere. Midwest is like really, really part of my author brand. So I'm like, guys, I have to keep it in the Midwest. And they said, that's fine. So these 2 are in Illinois, but I am taking a little slice of Kansas history and just relocating it.
I love that. I am actually from Illinois. That's where I grew up. But so I was dying laughing at the lifelong denizen of the flatlands, because I was like, that is the best way you could ever put that you live or grew up in the Midwest.
Yes. I thought you sounded like, when you said you were in California, I was like, she doesn't sound like she's from California. But
long story short, we are both from Illinois. We just now live in San Diego because he's stationed here for the Navy. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
well, I went to grad school at Champaign-Urbana.
Oh, that was where I went to undergrad. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
that's where I met my husband. He went to his undergrad. He's from Boston, but he went to undergrad at Illinois, and I went to grad school at Illinois, and that's how we met. Yeah, and there is a scene that takes place in Champaign-Urbana on campus in
I
Echoes
love
of a
it.
Silent Song. I threw the campus in
Oh, well, I
there.
can't wait to pick
So,
it up.
yes.
Okay, and let's talk about who you are as a reader. What genres do you enjoy reading?
I will read a lot of different genres. This past year, I've been really like digging into general market
Okay.
fiction. I will read general market, I will read Christian, I will read, and my some of my favorite authors are humor writers. So, I'll read a lot of different things. Sci-fi fantasy is one that I just
Yeah.
can't. I can't. I have the utmost respect for that genre, but I am very much a real world type of person. But I read a lot of women's fiction. I read some romance, like a lot of my books have romantic
Yeah.
elements in them. But I have discovered since I started writing, like I don't really want to read as much in my genre as I used to want to because it's like, oh, it's just more work,
Yeah.
So I for my pleasure reading, I do tend to read outside my genre just a little bit. Like, okay, this isn't Christian fiction, but it's still like women's fiction, or this isn't split
Yeah.
time, but it's still, blah blah. Like so reading split time to me now feels like work, which was it's an unfortunate side effect, but like split time was my favorite thing to read
Yeah.
before I started writing it. And I still love it, obviously. It's just if I'm actively writing a book at the time, then I will tend to dip into other
And
genres.
I feel like that makes sense, right? Your brain needs a little bit of a break from whatever it is you're writing in. Like I could see that.
Yeah. And I tend to not like if I'm reading outside my genre, that allows me to turn off the writer brain and just enjoy reading without, ooh, how did they do that? That was so
Yeah.
cool. Or, man, I wish I could write a sentence like that. Or, oh, that's a good
Yeah.
idea. Or, hey, how did they do that? I don't have to analyze general market. I can just like, oh, this is
Yeah.
fun. I like reading.
I love it. Well, how in your busyness do you find time to read?
That is it, and I go in spurts. There are some times when I'll go weeks or months without reading anything, and then I'll pick up a book and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember that I really like this. And so then I'll be kind of a voracious reader. But I do tend to read like before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Usually I'll read a little bit of something, fiction, nonfiction, whatever. I'll read a little bit. That's the only consistent time that I get to read really. But this morning I like woke up before my alarm and I was like, oh, good, I can
Yay.
finish that book because I was almost to the end of Frederick Bachman's My
Oh,
Friends,
yes.
his new release. I was almost to the end last night and then I was like, I am really tired and I need to go to sleep and I'm not going to appreciate the end of this book. I don't want to rush through
Yeah.
it. I want to savor the end. So I was up early this morning and I did get to finish it and that was a good call, savoring the end.
Yeah. I could see that. Well, you have been so gracious to bring three book flights, three books with you today in the form of a book flight. Can
Yes.
you tell us how you chose these books?
I was looking since Echoes is so musically involved, like the characters in all of the timelines are musicians. I usually throw in a musician character in most
Yeah.
of the books, but this is the first book where music is absolutely central to the plot and all of the characters are musicians. So then I decided to pick books that I have read that also feature musicians.
Yeah.
So we have a musical book flight. And can I just say I love the concept of a book flight.
Yay.
It's just like I like the wine flight idea. Like we have a local chocolatier that they will do a chocolate
Yeah.
flight and like they'll do little truffles and then you can get the wine pairings with them and it's so much fun. So like book flight, that's what that makes me
Yeah,
think
and
of.
that's exactly where it came from. The funny thing is it
Yeah.
came from I also said I wasn't a fantasy reader and I was like, well, I don't really read it though. So like how could I say I'm not something unless I haven't tried it? And so I had a neighbor when I was starting this podcast that she was a fantasy reader and I was like, would you be one of my guests and
Oh,
would you come on and bring us three fantasy books that would be a good trial books for us to
yeah.
try the world of fantasy? And then you can see if you really like it. And so that was really where it came from. It started very genre based, but then obviously
Oh,
now
that's cool.
167 episodes in, like I love that now
That's
it's morphed
impressive.
into more like maybe theme based or topic, things
Yeah.
like that. Because obviously
Uh-huh.
we might not run out of genres, but this allows us so much more freedom
Right.
too.
It does.
So what's the first book you brought today?
The first book is The Lost Melody by Joanna Davidson Politano. I love Joanna's writing. She writes like I want to write when I grow up. Um, and this one, it's been a while since I read it, so I'm going to kind of just read a little bit of the back cover copy. When concert pianist Vivian Mordaunt's father dies, he leaves to her the care of a patient at Hurstwell Asylum. Vivian had no idea the woman existed, and yet her portrait is shockingly familiar. When the asylum claims she was never a patient there, Vivian is compelled to discover what happened to the figure she remembers from childhood dreams. The longer she lingers in the deep shadows and forgotten towers at Hurstwell, the fuzzier the line between sanity and madness becomes. She hears music no one else does, receives strange missives with rose petals between the pages, and untangles far more than is safe for her to know. But can she uncover the truth about the mysterious woman she seeks? And is there anyone at Hurstwell she can trust with her suspicions? And I just remember from reading this book, as far as I know, Joanna is not a musician herself, but she wrote it so authentically that I was like, I don't know how she did so much research to make it, but this book really reads like it was written by a musician.
Yeah.
So
I would never guess. I actually thought I read that thinking she was a pianist because the way she wrote it, but I never
she may be. I honestly, now that I say that, I don't know that she is or isn't, but it was really, really just well researched and well done and a compelling book. I remember not being able to put this one down.
Yeah, I love that suspense thread that just kind of keeps you going. You're like, okay, I have to know what's gonna happen here.
Yeah.
Or how this is gonna connect.
And this one is kind of, the suspensey elements in this one kind of, I think, is part of what inspired me to kind of go that direction with my next, like this duology that we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's when you were talking about it, I was like, ooh, I was already intrigued. I was like, yes, this sounds up my alley. So that was The Last Melody by Joanna Davidson Politano. What's the next book you brought today?
The next book is Everything is Just Beginning by Erin Bartles. So The Lost Melody was Victorian classical piano music. This music is it's 80s rock. So it's about a guitarist who gets kicked out of his band and is trying to land a record deal. And it says, until the invitation for a swanky New Year's Eve party shows up in the mailbox. It's addressed to his uncle, with whom he shares both name and living space, but his uncle's going out of town, so he kind of steals this invitation and goes to this party. And it says he will cross paths with the accomplished and enigmatic young heir to a fading musical dynasty, forever altering both of their futures. And this one, again, it was just so authentically written. There's you can almost hear the music in this book. Like, and I think Erin does play guitar. And I think she sings. So there's a lot of authenticity in here with this one, but just a lot of just love for music is through here too. And just a completely different era. This is 80s, Berlin Wall, Soviet Union, all of this stuff that, like, it's historical fiction, but it's history that I remember. So, like, I guess that means I'm getting old, but it's cool to like read about an era that you at least have a functional knowledge of, and it's almost like time travel. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I am like sitting here thinking as you're talking, I'm like, I don't know that I've read all musical books as well, but I'm like, I don't know that I've read one with like a rock band in the 80s. So this sounds like a really fun area to explore.
Yeah, well, and I have a couple of writer friends too that write about rock bands. Emily Conrad does rock star romances, is what she calls them. And she's independently published, so she does that. And I cannot remember off the top of my head what the name of her series is, but it's about a rock band, and it's really cool. So I said I never wanted to write a book about a celebrity. Just celebrity romances don't really do it for me. And then I discovered in book 5, it's like, oh, my hero is a contemporary Christian music artist with some level of fame and fortune. Now I'm writing a celebrity. So I was like, okay, I guess we'll do this now.
Yeah, it's funny. God put that on you.
Yeah, characters just sort of come in and they are who they are, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I'm writing about you now.
Yep. I love it. So that was Everything is Just Beginning by Erin Bartles. And what's the last book you brought
Uh-huh.
today?
The last one is A Note Yet Unsung by Tamara Alexander. And this one I read several years ago, but I remember loving it because again, it is so authentic to the music. It's about a violinist and a conductor, and it's in an era when women were not allowed to be in
Okay.
orchestras. And actually that is true to history. There even recently, I think the Berlin Philharmonic was all male. And I
Oh,
think
okay.
I heard the story. I don't know how true it is. I heard that the first woman who got in, it's a blind audition. Like orchestra auditions are typically blind. Like you'll walk in with your instrument and the judges have their backs to you.
Okay.
So they do
Interesting.
not
Yeah.
know. So that allows them to really judge you on your sound and your performance rather than who you are and letting that influence
Yeah.
you. So this is blind audition, and this person had listed the name on the resume as Chris. And so the Berlin Philharmonic is assuming that this person is male and they win the job and it's Christine.
Okay.
And so that's how the first woman got into the Berlin Philharmonic. But anyway, this I cannot remember specifically what era this is that Tamara has written, but it's long enough ago that women were not really in the orchestra because it says women are far too fragile and
Mm.
frail for the
Our,
rigors of an
our
orchestra.
dispositions.
And yes. And then there's a conductor in this one too.
Okay.
He's an acclaimed conductor and composer, and he's rushing to finish his symphony because there's some health issue that he is dealing with. And I won't spoil the book, but like the violinist has to kind of help the conductor finish his magnum opus. And it just, she really was able to get into the head of musicians and how they work and how composers work and how conductors work. And I think that also helped inspire my conductor character. Callum was a little bit like some of the stuff Nathaniel Tate Whitcomb in this
Yeah.
book. I am picking up a couple similarities now that I have gone back and looked through this one again. But yeah, so that is that one.
Yeah.
And it was fun to have a string player in the book because I am a string player. I have not yet written a cellist
Okay.
in a book, but it's
Yeah.
coming. I'm sure it's coming. It has to be just the right
Yeah.
book. But I've written a violinist and she's written a violinist.
That's
So,
fun.
that was
Yeah,
fun.
so you can go dig in, and I love that you would get that insight, especially not being, in like I am none of those roles. So it would be a
Mhm.
really fun way to kind of get a look at what that would look like.
Yeah. And that's what kind of is scary about research is like if you get something wrong, some little detail or whatever, and the person reading the book knows that detail is wrong, it can throw them out of the story.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I find research intimidating, and it's not something I love to do. I know a lot of writers that like they love research and they love learning and they write so they have an excuse to research and
Sure.
learn. And I am not that person. I write until I like, oh crap, I need to look up this fact.
Yeah.
So then I'll do a little research. I'll do enough research so that I can keep going in this story. And that's how my research works. But so I'm like, well, if I write a book about a character who has my literal actual job, I don't have to do as much research because I've been researching it for years.
Yeah, exactly. It makes that a bit easier.
Yes.
So that was A Note Yet Unsung by Tamara
Uh-huh.
Alexander. Thank you so much for bringing those books with you today.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're very welcome. Thank you to these wonderful authors for writing these amazing books. There's so many good
I
books out
know.
there.
Yeah, and I feel like I truly believe that God will put books in our life when we most need them. And so they all
Yes.
come to us at the moment or, our time that we need it.
Yeah, yeah. Have you read Sarah Brunsvold's Mrs. Kipp, The
Yes.
Extraordinary Death of Mrs. Kipp?
Yes.
That one came into my life shortly before my dad died. Like I didn't know that was about to
Yeah.
happen. But I remember reading like some of the hospice scenes and just like the dying process, because I really was not familiar with that at all. And like the stuff I learned from that book kind of helped me prepare, like it prepared me for when my dad was going through that. And I'm like, oh, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad I haven't read it again since
Yeah.
that. But
That would be a painful, I think.
yeah, as you said, that book came into my life when I needed
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And I think, yeah, it's just amazing if you look at that, right? And how it can serve you in
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
How I love to end our show is with our bonus pairings, which are a speed round of questions you can answer really quick. Are you a rereader?
Sometimes, if I really, really, really love the
Yeah.
book, I will reread it. Usually I'm too eager to go on to the next new
Yep.
thing.
And there's so many good books out there. So,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where is your favorite place to read?
My favorite place to read is usually in my living room in a chair under a blanket with my cat on my lap. There's this one blanket that we have that is the cat's favorite blanket.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you have that blanket over your lap, she'll come sit on you.
Yeah.
And if she wants to sit on you and you don't have the blanket, she will look at you and meow at you until you figure out what she wants. And then you put the blanket over your lap, and then she hops up and sits in your lap and goes to sleep.
Yeah. Like, hello, it's my nap time.
Yeah. Hi, I need the blanket.
Yeah. Lastly, what are you reading next?
What am I reading next? Let's see, whatever is on my old shelf and Libby, whatever the next thing
Yeah,
that
what
has
came
come in. Yeah. Actually, my next read is going to be either Katie Pounder's new release or Sarah Brunsvold's new release.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember the titles of either of those,
Well,
but
Katie Pounder was When the Road Comes Around.
yes, I knew
Yeah.
it had something to do, and they both have
Yeah.
to do with roads, and like Sarah's just an
Yes.
atlas of some
Yeah,
thing.
Atlas of Untold Stories, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
both came on for both of those books, actually. So if listeners, if you're like, oh, I want to go learn more about those books, I can't tell you the
Yes.
episode number off the top of my head, but I could put it in the show notes.
Yes, yes.
But-
Either of those are definitely at the top of my TBR pile.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. I know your time is
Thank you.
precious, and I appreciate all you've given me.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really, really fun.
Yay. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today with Amanda Wen, including her book flight of books featuring musicians. We'd love to hear what other books you'd pair with this book flight at bookishflights.com. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Your review not only helps the show, but it also helps the podcast to reach others. Make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to make sure you will not miss an episode. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As Emma Thompson said, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them. Cheers to you, dear readers. Until next time.